A show based on the facts, honesty, the man, the myth, the legend, ChristiTutionalist Joseph M. Leonard.
Welcome to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast, aka CTP. I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard, and that's Leonard. CTP is your no muss, no fuss, just me, you, and occasional guest type podcast. Really appreciate you tuning in. As Graham Norton would say, let's get on with the show! Hello, everybody. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 99, I think. I'm pretty sure that's correct. I'm recording ahead, so hopefully by the time you see or hear this, I will be scheduling it via Buzzsprout to make sure it releases regardless. Hopefully I will be a couple weeks already into recovering from TAVR heart valve replacement surgery. So this will air even if something happens. I don't say that to be morbid. I don't say that to be pessimistic. That kind of surgery, a lot of surgeries today are pretty routine, even though heart surgery is pretty delicate. It's pretty routine these days. So, but it's realistic to say anytime you're under anesthetic for something, you never know. But I fully expect that I'll be recovering while this airs. I'm pre-recording. We'll pre-schedule it so that it drops, and it'll be automated. I won't have to worry about it at any rate. And since I said that, are you ready? You ready? I bet you know what's coming next, right? This is going to be another odd show. And yes, for the benefit of the transcript, I'm laughing. And indeed, abnormal seems to be my normal lately, so I gotta stop saying that. All these shows seem to be weird and odd. And it's kind of the point and purpose of ChristiTutionalist politics. Stuff you're not going to hear anywhere else. It's like I posted online the other day on Truth and Gab something, sorry, not sorry, but tough love you're not going to get everywhere else. Not the hippie hacky sack, peace and love, sit around the campfire singing kumbaya all the time. Hippie side of Jesus some want to portray, but the whole Bible in full context, including those tough love parts that a lot of people want to just gloss over. Oh my gosh. Like I share a meme over Matthew 23 about Jesus calling some vipers, snakes, false guides, right? And it says at the bottom, some of today's modern fake Christians would unfriend Jesus in social media terms, calling him too judgmental, right? It's like, can't we all just get along kind of parts of the Bible, and let's pretend those tough love parts don't even exist. So sorry, not sorry, you're getting full Bible context here, including the tough love parts. At any rate, what did I want to talk to you about today, now that I've blathered already about nothingness? The Constitution, as they say, is not a suicide pact, right? Rights end at someone else's nose, as the saying goes. Oh, hey, an accidental rhyme there. No pun intended. Seriously. The assault is not an extension and protected as a freedom of expression. Now, the odd part is, well, why am I saying that? Well, it is a political show, and biblical community free will versus communism, force, and theft. But I want to say that to relate to them, say, why it's odd. You'll certainly not likely hear anybody else say this ever before or even after I say it. Maybe at any rate, yeah, now that I'm saying it, maybe it'll catch on, right? The New Testament is not a suicide pact either. What do I mean by that? Well, Jesus never said, I'm here to supplant the Old Testament. I'm here to supplant the Torah. I'm here to replace and erase the Torah. No, Jesus was born a Jew into the Jewish faith, became a rabbi, began his teaching, his preaching officially, his church at age 30 under Jewish law, right? That's why the Old Testament is there as part of the Bible. Now, yes, of course, some things changed. Some things were supplanted. Some of what Jesus said as became the New Testament. Here is the new way, like his death and resurrection, the final sacrificial blood sacrifice. We don't sacrifice animals these days, right? But an eye for an eye is still valid in some cases. The death penalty under Genesis, Leviticus, and Numbers is still valid. The New Testament, yes, indeed says and calls upon us to love even our enemies and to turn the other cheek. Well, for the benefit of the transcript and those on audio, you might hear, I'm slapping my cheek. Well, the other cheek, you have one other cheek. And why do I say the New Testament is not a suicide pact? It does not say continually be a sucker and allow yourself to be used and abused and taken advantage of. No, show grace, turn the other cheek, love even your enemy, but there's a limit to that. Turn the other cheek. It doesn't mean you can't defend yourself. It doesn't mean you can't fight back. And therefore, again, the New Testament is the preferred new way, but does not erase the old way when you've extended that olive branch, that turn the other cheek, and evil continues to be evil. You have to eliminate the evil. And yes, an eye for an eye and the death penalty. He who sheddeth man's blood may have his blood sheddeth by man. Applies in that case, not as the first resort, but as a last result. This is that whole thing about, I say, ChristiTutionalist politics. The whole Bible, every chapter, the Old Testament, the New Testament, in full context. And, right, it's like the death penalty, right? Sheddeth man's blood shall. Exodus 22:2 alone talks a thief in the night dealt the fatal blow. You are not guilty of murder. It is a killing. That's why the commandment is really, thou shalt not murder innocence, not thou shalt not kill. The Bible, there in Exodus 22:2 and other places, in full context, putting the commandment in context, tells you times that a killing, while unwanted and preferred not to be the case, is allowed, is defensible, is defendable, is not murder. These distinctions, this context, these details matter. Again, Pastor Sean Todd of Wham Radio, Sundays, noon, his The Intersection show, right? Kind of like ChristiTutionalist politics. The intersection of faith and politics. Same thing I'm doing here. He was part inspiration for the show that I feel called to do and explain these contextual things that many of today's, unfortunately, Matthew 23 Christians want to leave out and avoid, right? He's the one that coined the phrase about many fake Christians today wanting the hippie hacky sack Jesus, as he coins it, and I use it. That's where I got it. Pastor Sean Todd, Wham Radio, whamradio.com. If you want to listen live, I listen to the Saturday shows, Abolitionist Roundtable in the morning. In fact, I'm recording this on a Saturday following the Abolitionist Roundtable show, which I called into. And today is Saturday, April the 26th. If you want to go to tinyurl.com/ART archives and maybe listen to the show from April 26th, I called in. I will be listening to my friend Ed Bondarenka's show, Your American Heritage, this afternoon from 1 to 2 and a second hour 2 to 3. Dick Cupkey, Trigger Talk, 11 to noon, and then again a second hour, noon to 1. Shout out to Pastor Richard Clark Dietering. He used to do the show at 1 o'clock. Ed now took over that hour, does 2 hours. Pastor Rick, myocarditis due to the Wuhan hysteria jabs. He's retired now, doesn't do the radio. He had Moment of Clarity show that I was also a frequent caller to. Pastor Sean Todd, noons, 12 o'clock. It's strictly a recorded show, no callers. My friend Derek Stone, Stone Cold Sports Truth, because yes, occasional breaks are healthy and important, but we can't be caught up and consumed by the bread and circus all the time. The Stone Cold Sports Truth show, 12:30 to 1 on Sundays, and I'm a frequent caller to that. But the Bible isn't just hippie hacky sack Jesus. There are a lot of tough love parts that some want to leave out. And that's why I now am coining the phrase, like the Constitution isn't a suicide pact, the New Testament isn't a suicide pact either. It doesn't eliminate the Old Testament. Now, why am I saying so many Christians, or claim to be supposed Christians, that are anti-Semitic? Jesus, born a Jew, fulfilled the Jewish testaments to become the Messiah. We as Christians, if you're honest about it, are Messianic Jews. So I don't get this anti-Semitic stuff, and some blaming Jesus being killed by the Jews, right? It wasn't all the Jews of the time. It was certain power and control freaks within the Jewish community wanted to protect their power and control. But even though we're given free will, remember on the cross, Jesus says, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. They didn't know what they were doing. Just as Judas had to betray Jesus, just as those Jewish leaders had to ask Pontius Pilate, the Romans, to why do I not want to say resurrect? That's what happens, right? Crucify. There's the word I'm looking for. Oh my. Anyway, the I can't talk. The crucifixion, the betrayals of Jesus were a requirement to fulfill the testaments, proving and showing him as the Messiah, as well as the resurrection 3 days later. They had to betray Jesus. They were part of God's plan. So blaming them for God's plan makes you anti-God. Being anti-Semitic is anti-God. It's just plain stupid. And Jesus told you on the cross while dying, sacrificing himself for all of us, that final blood sacrifice. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. They had to do what they did. We may not like it, but it was preordained. It was part of God's will. It was required. And to try to blame all Jews of today for something a few Jews did 2,000 years ago is just plain insane. At any rate, all of that, the New Testament is not a suicide pact. The distinctions and the differentiations in the new versus the old, it didn't replace it or supplant it all. Some, yes, this is the new preferred way, but it doesn't erase and remove all the old ways as part of the overall context and point of this show, ChristiTutionalist politics, the whole Bible in full context. So yes, the New Testament is not a suicide pact, just as the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence was not a suicide pact, though, as they said, we either all stick together, hang together, or we'll hang literally from the noose, the gallows, together or separately. We as Christians must stick together and deal with the whole Bible in full context. At any rate, I hope I've been able to make my points. I almost said it at the top of the show. This will be a short show, but it seems like every time I say that, it'll end up being a long show. But indeed, I could see this will be a shorter show. And thank God, right, for that. Short, concise. I hope the points have been made. Go forth, teach the whole Bible in full context. God bless you, my brothers and sisters. Thank you for having tuned in for ChristiTutionalist Politics Show. If you haven't already, please check out my primary internationally available book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you. Available anywhere books are sold
If you have locally run bookstores still near you, they can order it for you. And let me remind, over time, the fancy high production items will come. But for now, for starters, it's just you as a very appreciated listener by me. All substance, no fluff, just straight to key discussion points. A show that looks at a variety of topics, mostly politics, through a Christian U.S. constitutionalist lens. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Take care. God bless. Like and subscribe to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast and share episodes. We need your help.
Wham Radio, 1600 AM and 92.7 FM is your conservative flamethrower. Weekdays, Steve Gruber starts things off at 6 a.m. Gruber gives his perspective on the issues of the day. At 9 a.m., Glenn Beck blazes the airwaves with his nationally syndicated program. From noon to 3, it's Dennis Prager. At 3 o'clock, it's Wham's own Thayrone X. On the Edge, Thayrone tells it exactly as he sees it. At 6, it's The Dana Show, your conservative alternative. At 8, don't miss Joe Pags. Weekends are filled with conservative talk as well. Fingers Malloy, Thomas LeDuc, The Abolitionists Roundtable, A Moment of Clarity with Pastor Rick, Your American Heritage with Ed Bondarenka, Dave Janda's Operation Freedom, and Dick Kupke's Trigger Talk. You can even get links to Wham podcasts from Dave, Dick, and of course Thayrone, all from their pages on our website, whamradio.com. Keep it locked on Wham Radio, 1600 AM and 92.7 FM in southeastern Michigan, and whamradio.com anywhere in the world.